Hello everyone, this is part 10 of What If Naruto Leaves Konoha and Awakens Lava and Boil Release, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Land of Iron. Castle of Iron. Cage Summit. Everyone's eyes widened at that. Madara was here. Moved quicker than anyone in the room, quickly latching onto the man's neck with his strong grip. White Zetsu grimaced. The man's strength was astounding. Where is he? Where is Madara Uchiha? Whispers spread amongst those gathered in the room during Ai's interrogation of the Akatsuki. Madara's apprentice. Who is that? Mei questioned, wondering who the man could possibly choose as a successor. Naruto shifted uncomfortably, having a bad feeling about just who this apprentice was. Chojuro was too young to remember Madara from anything other than a textbook and just remained in a defensive position near the Mizukage. Naruto, do you think his apprentice could be? Gaara began to question him, not bothering to name the person. Naruto looked at the redhead before looking down at the ground, slowly nodding his head. The other Sand siblings just looked at their brother for guidance, not understanding what he meant. Madara Uchiha. Wasn't he from Konoha? Kuretsuki asked the Tsuchikage, who strummed his beard in thought. Yes, he was the leader of the Uchiha at the time of Konoha's founding, I believe. When the position of Kage was given to the Slug Queen's grandfather instead, he went off to Kiri. Tsunade glared over towards the Tsuchikage for the nickname, to which Onoki only smirked. Tuned out the voices, only focusing on the puny plant man that he held in the palm of his hands. To his annoyance, the man was actually smiling even though he was in such a predicament. Slightly tightening his grip, made his voice be known throughout the room, silencing everyone. Tell me where he is. If you don't, I won't go easy on you. Zetsu seemed to ponder this as everyone looked at him, expecting him to talk. Well, I suppose I could give you a hint. Zetsu was stopped from talking further when the man's hand suddenly crushed his windpipe, effectively cutting off his only way to breathe or speak. I was fuming with anger that the man was so stubborn, his body shook from his intense emotions. Mei glared at the large buffoon of a man that stood before her. What was he thinking? I turned around and looked at his pale-skinned bodyguard. See, let's get started. I want him found now. C nodded, bringing his hands up into a ram hand sign to better help him concentrate. Yes sir. Mei decided to speak up, still angry over what the man did to the Akatsuki member. Why did you kill him? If you had captured him, we could have interrogated him for info about the Akatsuki. Gaara addressed her instead of the angry Raikage. Akatsuki members don't talk nor betray the organization, they are all too loyal. Mei backed up on her accusations after that, deciding it was a lost cause anyway. The moderator had observed the interaction between the shinobi calmly from his desk, deciding now was the time to get the situation under control. He turned towards his personal advisors and bodyguards, Okisuke and Yurikaku, giving them orders. Okisuke, Yurikaku, order everyone on full alert and to begin conducting searches throughout the perimeter for Madara Uchiha. His eyes narrowed to slits as he stared at the Akatsuki corpse in front of him, whispering the last part of his orders. And to prepare for battle. Yes sir. They saluted, beginning to take control of the legion of samurai patrolling the castle. Moved towards the wall of the room in a heartbeat, bringing his fist back and punching straight through the stone barrier. Everyone's eyes widened by the man's spontaneity, they had no idea what he was planning on doing. See, Darui, let's go. We are going to search every inch of this castle until we find him. The rest of you Kage should stay here, you will only get in my way. With that, the man ran out through the large hole in the wall while his bodyguards lagged behind for just a few seconds. Sorry about the table, dot and the wall. Darui exclaimed before getting dragged along by C, who was determined to catch up to his leader. Naruto and the others somewhat relaxed the guard, sensing the immediate danger over. Naruto took up a place right beside Mei, who chose to stay in her seat for the time being. Chojuro got down from his crouching place on the table to stand on Mei's other flank, his sword holstered for now. Onoki just shook his head condescendingly towards the brash Raikage, staying in his comfortable chair as well. How rude that youngster is. He always has been an unruly child, seems like it has carried over to him being a cage as well. Yurikaku, a balding man with a scarf covering the lower part of his face, lifted up a part of the scarf and clicked his communicator. Everyone, prepare for battle and search the grounds for Madara Uchiha. I want 3 platoons guarding the tower's entrance. He received multiple Rogers and affirmatives from the samurai squad leaders throughout the castle. The shadow of a figure slithered along the ceiling, looking at all of the cage and bodyguards. It was also listening to the conversations, especially interested in the recent orders given to the samurai legions. Believing now would be a good time to report to his master, the figure slowly sunk through the wall and back to the lower levels of the tower. Castle of Iron. Ground level. Balcony. A masked man stood on a balcony overlooking the welcoming area for the building. The orange swirl mask hid his face from the boy who stood beside him. They both wore Akatsuki robes over their clothing and both had their Sharingan revealed. Looks like they are on the move. Madara noted, the movement of samurai had picked up since the last 5 minutes he had sent Zetsu to the upper level to alert the cage of his presence. The boy only grunted, the smirk on his face did not seem to want to go away. Madara glanced towards Sasuke, his apprentice, wondering why he was smiling so much now. Why are you smiling, boy? Sasuke looked at him with his new eyes, courtesy of a dead Itachi Uchiha. I have been given a new power thanks to my dead brother, one that I can use to destroy my enemies, destroy Naruto. Madara only shook his head and sighed. This boy wanted too much revenge on people he had no idea whether he could beat or not. Since the boy's induction, Madara had quickly learned the extent of his hate towards Itachi and his goal to K him. With a promise of allowing him to K Itachi, Madara easily gained his apprentice's trust. Now anyone could tell that at his current level, Sasuke stood no chance against his older brother, so Madara trained him before they fought. Sasuke quickly grew impatient though and insisted that he recall Itachi so that Sasuke could K him, so he did just that. Madara and Zetsu personally observed the battle and watched the two brothers fight it out. While he performed quite well to Madara's expectations, Sasuke was eventually forced on the defensive and Madara realized it was only a matter of time before the boy was defeated. Placing Sasuke under a genjutsu using his own Mangekyo, Madara dispatched Itachi himself and took the man's eyes for his bargaining chip. When Sasuke awoke from the genjutsu, he was under the belief that he had placed the final blow on Itachi and not Madara, who was happy to allow the boy to believe that. After promising him power beyond his dreams and the ability to bring the Uchiha back to greatness, Madara transplanted Itachi's eyes to Sasuke, giving him the power of the Mangekyo. Well, you aren't ready to use your new power yet. It's barely been a week since the transplant and you still can't harness the Amaterasu flames correctly, let alone quench them. You should go play with the samurai and provide a wonderful distraction for me while I talk to the cage. Sasuke frowned and said nothing, his Sharingan swirling angrily. Madara glared right back at the boy, moving at lightning-quick speeds and pushing him against the wall behind them. He gripped the boy's cloak and kept him still as his eye bore into Sasuke's, demanding power and respect for the old ninja. Do you understand that, Sasuke? He asked with a cold, warning tone. Sasuke glared but nodded, knowing he could do nothing against Madara. Yet. Zetsu chose this as his moment to arrive, quickly taking in the scene of Madara holding Sasuke to a wall. The man wanted to smirk at the surprise on their faces but chose the option that would allow him to keep his head, reporting to his leader. Leader Sama, I have alerted the cage of your presence. I should also warn you of the samurai and Raikage. Both parties are looking for you right now. Madara seemed to ponder this, hesitating for a moment with his hold over Sasuke. Sensing the man's focus taken away, Sasuke broke free of him and jumped off the balcony. Madara and Zetsu leaned over the side to watch what he was doing. The boy moved slowly towards the center of the welcoming area, the exact place where over 20 samurai were guarding. Madara shook his head again in disappointment but knew that no matter how he did it, Sasuke would defeat the men down there with his current power level. He turned towards Zetsu who seemed to be captured by the sight that was developing below him. Zetsu, stay here with Sasuke as I meet with the cage upstairs. If the Raikage comes after him, make sure he stays alive. Zetsu smiled and saluted his leader who soon disappeared in a swirl of chakra. Letting his leader's absence sink in for only a moment, Zetsu went straight over to the edge of the balcony and continued to watch the growing conflict. I wonder how much punishment Sasuke can take before I have to rescue him. Castle of Iron. Ground level. Sasuke strode up to the battalion of samurai who stood before him, a murderous smirk dead set on his features. The samurai looked to one another and their squad leaders, not sure what to make of the young man that stood in front of them now. The captain of the samurai forces walked to the forefront of their line, the men giving respect by parting their crowd for him. Sasuke looked at him with little interest. The only difference of this samurai was the wolf pelt on his back, nothing else seemed special about him. The captain held up a hand signaling Sasuke to halt, and to humor the man, he did just that. State your business here, Uchiha-san. This is neutral ground and the Hokage has already brought the 2 allowed bodyguards inside with her, you should not be here. Leave now before we are forced to apprehend and detain you. Sasuke's smile never left his face, something that angered the captain more than anything. You obviously don't know much about what goes on outside of your country, do you? As you can tell by this cloak, I am a member of Akatsuki. The samurai suddenly went on the defensive, taking out their swords and formed a staggered line in front of the Uchiha. And since you can't see a headband, it obviously means I'm not affiliated with Konoha any longer. Now then, Sasuke threw off his cloak, revealing a new outfit of his Madara had given him. It was comprised of a black suit, similar to the one Madara wore underneath his cloak. He had 2 plate guards just like Madara's that ran from his hips down to his lower legs. Sasuke patted his chest armor that covered him front and back, neck to groin, and was made of the same design and material as his leg guards. The samurai were a bit intimidated by this, not expecting a ninja to wear any type of armor. The captain stood resolute though, he had fought ninja before, armor or no, and still defeated them through both strength of mind and body. Stand firm, men. We will show this Uchiha how the samurai welcome uninvited guests. The samurai looked at their captain in awe and cheered, raising their swords high up into the air for victory. Sasuke watched them celebrate before the battle even started, pathetic if you asked him. I will just have to teach them how superior the Uchiha are. Are you done? Sasuke asked the men who were beginning to calm down from their early celebrating, leading to a deadly quiet room. The samurai began to stiffen, their hands clenching around their sword hilts. Sasuke watched in interest as the chakra in their bodies slowly connected and engulfed the blades, leading them to be enveloped in a blue chakra cloak. Zetsu and Sasuke were silently amazed by the skill these non-shinobi had in manipulating chakra. I'm surprised that samurai can do that. Surprised. We samurai of the land of iron are far more disciplined than a major nation's troops. We have gone toe-to-toe with legions of shinobi for the independence of our nation and have won before. The captain announced, angry at Sasuke's indifference towards them. I was actually a bit surprised, but it doesn't matter now. You may have faced so-called legions of shinobi before, but you have never fought against me, Sasuke Uchiha. Sole inheritor of the Uchiha clan's Kekkei Genkai, the Sharingan. Enough of this meaningless talk, destroy him. The samurai obeyed their leader's order, jumping towards Sasuke and launching crescents of chakra from their blades, shaped similar to their swords. Sasuke smirked, gathering up lightning chakra into his blade, he blocked each strike that came too close. The samurai watched in mute horror as their attack was defeated so easily. The captain analyzed the boy as he finished up with their attack, the wall behind him littered in craters and marks where their attacks missed or were deflected. A lightning affinity. It explains why he was able to defeat our attack so easily. Looks like we will have to try something else. Before he could order the men to change their tactics, Sasuke charged forward and sliced the man beside the captain, sprayed onto his armor and Sasuke's face as the boy went on a rampage throughout their line, slicing right through the thick armor like it was butter. Ordering his men to fall back, the captain moved to defend the one obvious way up to the cage meeting room, the staircase. Sasuke had only taken down 6 when he noticed the remaining 24 samurai had fallen back in front of a door. Knowing that it was only a matter of time, Sasuke started to slowly walk towards the men, relishing in the occasional nervous twitch or gesture they would exhibit. Castle of Iron. Second level. A, C, and Darui were running through a corridor searching for Madara Uchiha. They had already checked the previous floors and were running out of places to look. The group's mood, especially the Raikages, had started to deteriorate since they began their search. The frustration of not finding the man had gotten to the ill-tempered Cage, and it was now showing with the man's tense disposition. C was keeping an eye out for strange chakra when he felt something, or more like lost the feeling of something. Reaching out with his mind, C noticed that 6 chakra sources had disappeared one level below them. He could only guess that the samurai had encountered their target or other Akatsuki members and were losing. Sir, I can feel chakra sources disappearing, it has to be Akatsuki. A glance towards him, his face contorted in frustration and anger. Which way? Darui glanced towards his rakeage. The man was definitely too excited and wound up. Directly below us. I stopped running and looked downward, anticipating the battle in his mind already. Bringing up his fist, he brought the roof crashing down the occupants of the level below before jumping down with his 2 bodyguards. Castle of Iron. Ground level. Sasuke had just reached the middle of the room when he felt the ground shake beneath him and heard a distinct cracking of stone. Looking upwards, he watched as the ceiling caved in from an unseen force, forcing him to jump away from the center. The samurai looked upwards to find their savior, the rakeage and his men falling to the ground. The captain was relieved, even he knew that his men stood little chance against Sasuke, they were merely there to buy time. I hit the ground and looked around to see a boy in armor with a sword out. He noticed the red eyes of the Sharingan and knew this to either be Madara or one of his men. Darui looked behind him to check on the samurai, relieved to see that most were still alive. C merely glared at the Uchiha. He had caused the samurai and the Cage much grief, and it was time he be made to pay. Are you Madara Uchiha? Questioned Sasuke, pointing an accusing finger towards the young boy. Sasuke's eyes widened and his mouth gaped in surprise before moving back to a smirk, a guttural howl of laughter erupting from his throat. A's hands clenched in anger, as did C's. Who was this boy that would dare laugh at the rakeage? Darui merely looked at the boy with confusion. What the hell was his problem? Attacking these men on his own? He is either very powerful or very wise. Seeing his age, I would say the latter. Ha. You actually believe me to be that old man? Hardly. I am his apprentice, Sasuke Uchiha. That will change someday though, I will be the master soon enough. Why, you little brat, I'll teach you to disrespect me. Sasuke took a breath to calm himself before launching himself at the man, intent on testing his power against one of the great Cage. Zetsu observed from the balcony, wondering whether to laugh at or pity the boy for his stupidity. He just won't stop. Who the hell launches themselves at a Cage? Or enveloped himself in lightning chakra, effectively shielding his attack from any attack Sasuke could launch. Darui, observing Sasuke ready his katana with lightning chakra, quickly went through hand signs before shooting a concentrated stream of water at Sasuke. Water release, water encampment wall. Just as Sasuke landed a few feet from the rakeage, the stream of water impacted him and forced him back and up into the air. Sasuke glared at Darui as he was pushed away by the water, but his eyes widened when the man began to do additional hand signs and build up chakra in his hands. C smiled at Daru's ability. It was one of the many reasons why he was chosen for bodyguard duty. The man was able to use both water and lightning release proficiently and at the same time. Having both elements also allowed him the ability of storm release, an uncommon Kekkei Genkai found in a few clans within Kumo. Lightning release, wave of inspiration. Lightning surged through the water, reaching Sasuke in mere seconds. The blast of electricity shocked the Uchiha and made him cry out in pain. Realizing he was in trouble if he remained there, Sasuke broke free of the current and backflipped away from the 3 Kumo shinobi. He crouched low with his blade crackling with energy. He challenged them to come forward with a glare. Yo boss, looks like this kid uses lightning. Darui noted. Merely continued to watch the boy that glared at him. Watch it, the Uchiha are known to have a common affinity of fire. Be ready to make another suit, and Darui. C warned, remembering what he learned from his extra studies back in the village. Zetsu continued to observe, silently applauding the Kumo ninja for their observations. They have been fighting for only a few minutes and the two have already figured out his 2 affinities. What will you do now, Sasuke? The samurai watched in awe as the battle continued. They could sense the tension between these men. The captain moved his hand to a place right under his face mask, clicking his communicator. We have been attacked by a member of Akatsuki. The rakeage is currently engaging the enemy on the ground floor. Request assistance. He received an affirmative from Yurikaku. 3 additional battalions were being brought in from the perimeter to reinforce his men. In the meantime, the captain continued to observe the battle of the ants, wondering who would be the winner. These are Junin that I'm fighting, including the Reikage. This could get very interesting. Sasuke thought with a sick satisfaction. He intended to wipe the grin from Sasuke's face with his technique, going through 3 hand signs to get it started. I'll stop him in his tracks. Lightning illusion flash of lightning pillar. He announced, bringing Sasuke's attention over to him. Sasuke observed the move with his Sharingan, a blinding light forming in front of him which would stop him from being able to see. An illusion. You will have to do better. Sasuke prepared to break the genjutsu when the Reikage came plowing out from the thick screen of light, bringing his fist crashing into Sasuke's stomach. Realizing this was a genjutsu as well, Sasuke broke the genjutsu just in time to see Darui and the Reikage in front of him prepare to attack. C silently applauded the Sharingan's capabilities of seeing through the double illusion, not that it would matter for long. Noticing he had awoken from the genjutsu, decided to gloat before smashing the boy's head with his fist. You may have seen through the illusion, but it is too late. Sasuke's eyes widened as brought his fist down upon him in tandem with Daru's cleaver sword. Knowing the kid was in too deep, Zetsu moved quickly to the ground below and pushed Sasuke out of the way. Darui stopped his sword swing and faced the new intruder but was momentarily disoriented by the Reikage's supercharged fist hitting the ground. Sasuke glared at the new arrival, angered that the man thought him to be so weak as to need saving. Zetsu merely smirked towards the kid. He still had much to learn in the shinobi world. I don't need your help, Zetsu. Get the hell out of here and crawl back into the ground where you belong. Zetsu's eyes widened a bit at the insult, but he nonetheless continued to smile, slowly sinking into the ground. All right, Sasuke, we will see how far you get without me to save you. Sasuke merely emphed at the man's threat, choosing instead to watch the recovering Kumo shinobi. The captain watched as the shinobi continued to attack one another, breaking more and more of the castle floor with their antics. These ninja are pretty rough. Darui turned towards C, who was hanging near the back of their formation. He was not a front-line fighter like the Reikage or Darui. Oi C, track that guy will ya. I don't want this guy's friends to keep popping out of nowhere. C looked at his fellow Junin, weighing his options. Alright. But it will be difficult for me to concentrate on that task while fighting. Darui merely shook his head, inclining his head towards the Reikage and Sasuke. The boss and I can handle this, kid, don't worry about it. The blonde man nodded and closed his eyes, concentration, feeling for the retreating Zetsu in the nearby chakra sources. Zetsu kept moving around the room, not staying in one place so the boy would have trouble tracking him. From the interaction between the Kumo ninja and his own observations, it was obvious this C was a sensor type as well as an established genjutsu user. This guy could become a little troublesome. Looks like I'll have to K him. Castle of Iron. Top floor. Cage summit. The cage remained sitting in their seats, awaiting A's imminent arrival from his fruitless search. This was obviously not the case, however, as Mifune's advisor reported that the loud noises heard from the lower floors was actually a fight between an Uchiha and the Reikage. Naruto and Gaara both had a very good guess at who Madara's apprentice was before. This information sealed the deal. Sasuke was here. Mifune's other bodyguard, Yurikaku, inspected the corpse of Zetsu, seeing if he was really dead or not. The bodyguards merely stood beside their cage, not bothering to return to the upper platform with such a tense atmosphere now. We need to be prepared if Madara comes here, because if he has come for a fight, it will be a difficult one for us. Tsunade announced, bringing everyone's attention to her. If it comes down to that, I will fight Madara. His connection to the massacres and the death of the previous Mizukage leads him to be a dangerous war criminal amongst Kiri shinobi. Mei said, making sure everyone knew that Kiri was ready to fight. Naruto and Chojuro merely nodded in agreement with their Mizukage. I agree with that, Yurikaku, please request a double layer of guards in the corridor outside. The man at his side nodded in affirmation and began to speak into his communicator again. All you youngsters are getting so worried about one man. No matter how powerful he is, Madara wouldn't dare fight all 5 Kage at the same time. It is a death wish. Onoki boasted. He had remained in his seat quietly until the Kage began to talk about Madara coming up here. While we wait for the Raikage to return, I would like to question you all on our previous thought. Do you believe an alliance is the correct path? It seems unbelievable with the amount of conflict between your nations so far, but are you willing to give it a chance? The Cage looked at Mifune and then at each other, processing the man's question. I believe it to be a necessity to prevent further war between us. Such ideals have remained within our minds as children but slowly die as we grow old and bitter. Now that we have been presented with the idea together, and with a common enemy, we have a chance to make the future better for our children. Tsunade said to the others, believing the alliance would truly be a wonderful thing. Onoki merely scoffed. That sounds like a wonderful idea. But ideas and ideals take much time to come to fruition. If you are too hasty in the journey for the reward at your destination, you will easily make mistakes and lose sight of what you originally wanted to accomplish. Gaara spoke up after the old man, coming to defense of Tsunade. Haven't we had enough time to process this ideal? Decades of death and destruction have left a lasting impression on all people, civilian and shinobi alike. To decide to go on this road now is not a sign of haste, but a sign of progress. The Cage listened to the boy's words, they were true as were Tsunade's. HMPH. Not like it matters anyway, we will be back at war soon enough if our daimyo have anything to say about it. Gaara decided to attack the old man for that comment. I can't accept your lack of faith in our determination. If we are all willing to sacrifice something for the ultimate greater good, that of peace, then what should we allow to stand in our way? Something this important will never be easy, it is something we will have to fight for, something we shinobi are good at. Onoki merely gave a hearty laugh, the boy had a way with words when he actually used them. Well spoken Kazekage. Mei commented. Naruto patted his friend on the back with a smile which was returned by the redhead. Before further talk could continue, a loud banging and impacts could be heard bringing all the shinobi present back up to a more defensive stance. Temari turned to her brother, wondering what they should do if Sasuke was able to arrive up there. Gaara, what should we do if Sasuke is able to make it up here? He is a traitor to Konoha and is now affiliated with Akatsuki. Gaara pondered it for a moment. Uchiha Sasuke ha, he whispered, pondering what to do. Akatsuki looked to the Tsuchikage, also wondering what to do in this situation. Tsuchikage-sama, what should we do? Prepare for battle. Onoki looked up at the tall boy, playfully glaring at him. Of course not. What if my hips give out on me? Akatsuki held up his hands in defense and tried to apologize. Kuretsuki had other plans though. Hey Gramps, mind if I head down and check out the battle? I have never seen Akatsuki in action, let alone in Uchiha. Onoki looked at the young woman, her excitement was practically oozing out of her to go and watch the fight. He ended up sighing in defeat. Do what you want. Just be sure to stay out of the Raikage's way, he might KO you on accident. She pumped her fist in victory. What do you want to do, partner? She asked Akatsuki. He merely smiled and pointed towards the Tsuchikage. I had better stay here just in case his hips give out. She seemed a bit disappointed but was still excited about the fight. Down below, the fight was becoming much more intense between Kumo and Akatsuki. Castle of Iron. Ground level. Sasuke tensed his body as the two sides glared at one another, waiting for the other to attack. He weighed his options. One of the guards had been taken out of the fight because he had to track Zetsu. At least that fool was useful to me in some way. The two he was fighting though were obviously the strongest though. The Raikage had yet to show his true power yet though. As far as Sasuke could tell, the large man used his lightning release to enhance his taijutsu moves. He also noticed the man had incredible speed and it was difficult for his Sharingan to track. Darui was a challenge both because he wielded a sword and because of his multiple elements. He had so far shown excellent ability with both lightning and water and had caused him much grief in the beginning of the battle. Even with the odds stacked against him, Sasuke merely got more excited at the prospect of fighting against the impossible. I suppose it's time to get serious now that you are down a man. Darui glared at the Uchiha, mad that he was still gloating in his position. Don't push your luck, boy. Yelled out before launching himself towards Sasuke, appearing in front of the boy in just a few seconds. His Sharingan just barely detecting him in time, Sasuke sidestepped his power punch and attempted to slice through the man's rib cage only to have his sword repulsed by the lightning armor. Lightning cannot defeat lightning, looks like I will have to try something else. Sasuke ran through hand signs as he fell back away from the Raikage, who was still orientating himself towards Sasuke's new position. Compressing large amounts of heated fire chakra within his body, Sasuke shot them all out at the same time in the form of large dragons, all launched towards the Raikage. Realizing now was a good time to jump in, Darui leaped to the defense of the Raikage, going through a quick succession of hand signs and shooting out a gust of water. Water release, water encampment wall. Sasuke glared at the man as his dragons slowly dissipated from view and became steam. He had forgotten about that one. Not for long. Using the confusion, Sasuke quickly created basic clones of himself and launched them in different directions. The Raikage took the bait and pursued the nearest one to him. However, C was unable to be fooled and watched as the real one headed towards Darui. Darui, look out. That's the real one. The large sword user had just finished his jutsu when Sasuke reached him, bringing his face mere inches from Daru's. The man fell into the Sharingan's trap. Darui watched as the Sharingan hypnotically swirled around, bringing a heavy darkness upon him. Damn it, a genjutsu. And I fell for it. I can't even move. C could only watch in horror as his partner fell to the ground in a heap, knocked unconscious by the jutsu. The Raikage had heard C's cry of warning and turned around on Sasuke, tying the boy up in close combat. The blonde bodyguard turned to the large congregation of samurai at the door, pointing over to his friend. Samurai, get him to safety. I can't protect him while C was unable to finish as Zetsu leaped out of the floor and launched a sudden attack on the medic, forcing him on the defensive. The captain realized the man spoke the truth and quickly moved to get the man with a squad of his men. They retrieved the heavy body of Darui and brought him to the staircase where over 40 samurai now protected. C watched them carry Darui away. A feeling of relief showed as his shoulders sagged. He now could fight unhindered now that he didn't have to protect anyone. He backflipped away from Zetsu when he noticed that a multitude of clones were being created from the ground, leading there to be over a dozen of them now for C to fight. Cracking his knuckles, C smirked and charged towards the Zetsu clones. Castle of Iron. Ground level. Sasuke and A charged towards one another, one with Chidori and another with a lightning-encased elbow. Sasuke used his Sharingan again to predict the movement of the elbow and ducked below it, striking his Chidori straight through the man's chest where his heart should be. A merely smirked in appreciation for the boy's attempt as the strike actually passed through his armor and grazed his skin. Using your lightning to increase the strength and penetration of your attack. That is Kakashi Hataki's move. To be able to get through my lightning armor is quite impressive indeed. Sasuke was amazed the man was still talking. He was sure he had gotten him in the heart. Feeling himself being lifted up, Sasuke was thrown above the Raikage and then brought smashing back down into the floor. Liger bomb! Exclaimed as he brought Sasuke's head smashing down into the ground, creating a large crater in the center of the building. The samurai watched in amazement as what they thought was the battle to be over. The captain especially was extremely impressed by the sheer power and destruction of the Raikage's technique. So that was the rumored ninjutsu taijutsu of the Raikage, enhancing his taijutsu with lightning-enhanced ninjutsu. I suppose I didn't need those reinforcements after all. C and Zetsu had stopped fighting after the resounding impact, both looking over towards the battle. C smirked. The kid was good but no match for the Raikage. It's over, you have lost. Zetsu merely gulped. Madara wouldn't be pleased if Sasuke died. C ran over to Darui and got him into a sitting position before beginning to heal his wounds. Darui really couldn't move but he could still see. Yo C, did he get him? C was about to say yes when he heard the Raikage yell in frustration. Turning to see what was going on, he saw Sasuke Uchiha on his feet and surrounded by some sort of rib cage. What the hell is that? The captain's eyes widened. The boy was still alive. He turned around to see his reinforcements had arrived and taken up positions behind him. The Raikage backed away a bit from him, intensifying his armor's lightning charge. Is this the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan? Sasuke slowly stood up, looking around him in amazement by the power he had activated merely by panicked reflex. He only knew what it was called from Madara's explanation of his powers, the Susanoo. A defensive and offensive technique that would burn anything it touched and protect him from harm, a nigh unbreakable technique. While he didn't do it intentionally, Sasuke was nonetheless pleased with the outcome and smirked towards the Raikage. Now you see the true power of my Sharingan. The Reikage ignored the boy and continued to increase his outward chakra levels, enhancing his power to offset the boy's newfound advantage. C observed the two fighters, taking in what he saw and analyzing it. That must be the Mangekyo Sharingan the kid has in his eyes. The Reikage is increasing his chakra levels so that he can counter the tracking ability with more speed. He is getting very serious. His left eye bleeding from the exertion, Sasuke launched his most recently learned attack at the stationary Reikage, Amaterasu. Holding his place, the Reikage waited until the last second to dodge and sidestep the attack, allowing it to harmlessly go past him and leaving Sasuke open to attack. The blast hit an unsuspecting samurai. The captain ordered the men to put out the flames. C yelled out for them to stop before any reached the ailing man. Don't go near him, those aren't ordinary flames. The samurai looked at him incredulously but did nothing as the man slowly burned to death. The flames go wherever he looks, this is. C was stopped from thinking further as the Reikage launched another attack, preparing to hit Sasuke again. Knowing he could no longer keep up with the Reikage, Sasuke used his chakra reserves and placed black flames around his Susanoo armor. Damn. No matter where the Reikage hits him, Sasuke will be able to have an effective defense. He doesn't even have to keep up with him anymore. C panicked. The Reikage couldn't get through this defense without getting hurt himself. If the doomed samurai who was writhing on the ground was any idea of what Amaterasu could do, the Reikage was in trouble if he touched the black flames. A was in no mood for negotiation though. The boy had lasted long enough and he had to finish the battle before Madara made an appearance. His arm impacted the Susanoo from behind, cracking and opening the unbeatable defense Sasuke had erected around him. It came with a price. His lower left arm had now been caught by the black flames and threatened to engulf his entire arm and body. Not finished yet, jumped into the air and focused all his lightning and strength into his leg, bringing himself down upon the wounded and immobilized Sasuke. Now way, Reikage-sama, C whispered, not believing that his leader willingly sacrificed his own arm to hit the kid. He just sacrificed his arm. Whoa. Darui muttered, not believing it either. Realizing he was in trouble and unable to reform the rib cage of Susanoo in time, Sasuke again took the pain and activated his right and left eyes again. Black flames shaped as spikes reappeared in front of the downed Sasuke, creating one last obstacle for the Reikage to pass through if he wanted to hit the boy beneath. Showed no signs of stopping however, knowing that this was maybe the one chance they had to defeat such a powerful opponent that could create a headache for them in the future. C and Daru's eyes widened. He was still going through with it. Reikage, you're going to risk your leg too. Before he could hit the shield of black flames, the Reikage was stopped by a slab of sand that blocked his foot instead. Both the samurai and bodyguards turned their attention to the middle of the room where Gaara had now revealed himself. The sand oozed out from the gourd on his back, signaling that it was in fact he who had interfered. The Reikage quickly pushed away from Sasuke and landed near his bodyguards, glaring at the interruption. Gaara of the sand, the Kazekage. Sasuke noted from his kneeling position in the crater of rubble, observing the new arrival. Temari made her presence known with a quick attack launched by her war fan at Sasuke. Wind release, Scythe Weasel. Pockets of wind smashed into each other as they raced towards Sasuke, increasing their power by merging with one another. Sasuke easily dodged the attack. He however realized that her plan was only to force him back and not really hurt him. Kankuro used his chakra strings to detach the burning samurai of his armor, effectively saving him from Amaterasu. So that's Amaterasu, Kankuro noted as he threw the armor away from everyone. What the hell are you doing here, Kazekage? If your answer isn't sufficient, I will not forgive you for your interruption. Gaara merely glanced at the Reikage before continuing to stare at Sasuke. If you were to continue your attack, you would lose not only your arm but your leg too. Besides, I needed to talk to Sasuke. The boy in question quirked an eyebrow, wondering what the Kazekage wanted with him. The Reikage merely huffed and turned his attention to his arm, cutting it from the elbow down. He moved what was left of the hand towards C, indicating he heal it. Get to work on the BC. As soon as you are done, I'll attack Sasuke again. C stumbled a bit but quickly moved to begin healing his arm. Your eyes, they're like mine once were. The drive to kill those responsible for the problems and hatred in your life is still strong in your heart, as is your want for power. Sasuke merely listened to the boy, not really understanding what he was trying to say. You cannot solve problems through getting revenge, for it will only bring on more suffering and more revenge. It is still not too late for you to end this and go back to Konoha. Kankuro decided to advise his brother on the lost cause. Gaara, Naruto already tried what you were trying to do. He failed back then. Sasuke's only grown further in his hatred since then. Temari was next. Besides, everyone who he has hurt or affected will call for his B. By attacking this summit with Akatsuki, he has already signed his death wish. He has no future. Gaara closed his eyes for a moment, deciding to try one last time. Sasuke, even with darkness, there is always a sliver of light. Both of us have been in the darkness for so long, we both are able to see the light better than anyone, that is your chance. Sasuke smirked, coughing up some B. I have long since given up looking for that annoying light. If darkness gives me what I want, then who am I to find an alternative? That was it. Gaara knew he had lost him. Gaara, Temari warned. Kankuro glanced at his brother and could see his indecision. This isn't personal, Gaara, you are the Kazekage now. A single tear fell from his eye, his attempt to bring someone back from the dark, someone precious to his friends, and he had failed. Yeah, I know that. The Sand siblings launched their attacks at the same time while Sasuke struggled to stand up straight. Sasuke defended himself once again with his ailing Susanoo. The ribs were losing their color and size quickly from the brunt of the attacks. Gaara launched a sand strike against him but was blocked by Amaterasu. I see you still have your ultimate defense, Gaara. Sasuke noted. Gaara merely narrowed his eyes, bringing around another strike at Sasuke. Darui got up finally, free from most of the genjutsu's effects. He ran to join the Suna party while C finished up with healing A's arm. Wait, Suna. I'll help. Let me attack first then follow up. The Sand siblings merely nodded. Darui went through the correct hand signs and activated his Kekkei Genkai, Storm Release. Storm Release, Laser Circus. A stream of lightning strikes spread from his hands and shot towards Sasuke like water. It was followed closely by the siblings' attacks. Sasuke took the entire attack without moving. A large explosion ensued. A large cloud of dust blew towards everyone, making them cover their eyes as they looked to see if the attack had hit. Their eyes widened in horror as a large skeleton was revealed by the dissolution of the dust cloud. Sasuke stood right inside the rib cage, smirking. My absolute defense is still stronger though, he said with a laugh. The samurai observed the towering monstrosity, never seeing anything like it before. What the hell is that thing? One yelled out, unable to contain his horror. Is this really his power? The power of darkness? Gaara questioned, observing the thing before him. Only those who give themselves to darkness can attain this, the third power of the ultimate Mangekyo Sharingan, full Susanoo. Susanoo? Gaara questioned, never hearing the term before. So there is another power to the Mangekyo Sharingan? Temari asked, getting confused with just what Sasuke could do with those eyes. That Uchiha always has something up his sleeve. Kankuro noted, getting annoyed by his tenacity. Darui, Suna, you have to retreat. C yelled out from his location beside the Raikage. They couldn't handle that thing's power. His sensor ability told him it was some dark power with immense chakra levels. Instead of aiming for the shinobi with Susanoo's arms, Sasuke targeted the pillars that held the roof together. Knowing the building layout the best, the samurai watched in horror as the pillars broke. If that keeps up, the roof will cave. We have to stop him somehow. It was too late, however. The ceiling caved in and allowed a multitude of rocks to fall towards the hapless shinobi and samurai. Not knowing what to do, the samurai ran around in a panic attempting to avoid the falling objects. In the confusion of the collapse, Sasuke collapsed the Susanoo and was joined by an irate Zetsu who had to dodge falling rocks to get out. I think it's time we head up top to the cage, Sasuke. Madara shouldn't be too long now, and Sasuke ignored him at first, merely looking at his hands and clenching them. He could feel the strength flowing through him. He wanted more. Why bother? There is a wonderful fight down here and the Raikage obviously wants a piece of me. Zetsu sighed. He now had to play the trump card. You forget I'm a stickler for detail, Sasuke. When I was up there, guess who I saw? Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke's eyes widened and he turned on Zetsu, gripping his throat tightly. Not again. Zetsu thought, having enough of being grabbed by the neck today. Take me to him. Now. Zetsu obliged him, anything to keep the kid alive until Madara was done with whatever he was doing. The two left the scene right before the Raikage blasted through the rubble with his lightning-imbued hand. C was now free as well and began searching for Darui and the Kazekage. He found there was no need to though after seeing all four safe under a wall of sand. Sorry Kazekage. Darui muttered. Their attack had failed and Gaara had been forced to protect him. The boy did not say anything back. Looking around, Kankuro stated the obvious. Looks like Sasuke got away while we were distracted. I noticed as well, yelling at them to get a move on. We have to get him. He has information on Madara and Akatsuki. Castle of Iron. Top floor. Cage summit. The cage sat uneasily. They had heard the loud explosion and sound of tumbling rocks down below and knew something was very wrong. It had gotten very quiet. The bodyguards looked left and right waiting for the attack to come. Kakashi, with his Sharingan, watched as new chakra sources appeared and noted they were now above them. They are here, above us. Everyone shifted their eyes to the ceiling where Sasuke stood alone, looking straight at Naruto with murderous intent. All those gathered glared at the boy who had affiliated himself with Akatsuki. The kid was going to have to die. Naruto took Sasuke's glare as a challenge and shifted his position, slightly bending his knees in preparation. Mifune jumped up from his chair and revealed a hidden sword of his, identical to his fellow samurai countryman's. It glowed with chakra and attempted to slice Sasuke only to be blocked by Sasuke's lightning-enhanced blade. Not bad. You are not the one I want, old man. Sasuke used his blade to revert the man's weapon away from his center mass, allowing Sasuke to kick him in the stomach. Mifune was sent crashing down to the ground while Sasuke was open to attack. Naruto launched himself into the air and stood on the ceiling along with Sasuke. Cage and bodyguards, stay where you are. I will handle this one, personally. Everyone's eyes widened at the blonde's declaration. The Akatsuki that stood before them had apparently bested both the Raikage and Kazekage and he still would take him on. Onoki smirked. The boy was out for glory from his point of view. My hips are hurting me, you all may do as you like. Tsunade and her party stood up, ready to apprehend Sasuke as he was a Konoha criminal first. Stay out of this, Tsunade. She hesitated only for a moment because of Naruto's commanding tone before preparing to jump up again. She only hesitated again because of his eyes. Bar-chan, please. Tsunade couldn't say no to him after that. She halted in her attack. Mei had stayed silent until now, debating whether to listen to Naruto or throw caution to the wind and help him anyway. Naruto seemed to know her thoughts and looked down at her with a reassuring smile, one of which she returned. She needed no further reassurance. Mei knew Naruto would win. Naruto, Mei called out, bringing his attention back to her. We are getting married soon. If you don't win. Her eyes turned dark and her smile evil. I'll KO you myself. Naruto nervously chuckled and nodded. That's my fiancé all right. Uzumaki women are crazy. Are you ready, Dobe? Sasuke asked, tired of waiting for his revenge. Naruto turned back to him and readied his swords. His blue eyes pierced Sasuke's red Sharingan. Let's go team. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.